That is a good looking bass you have in your lap right there. Is that one of the ones that's going away?
It will have gone by the time we do this video.
Oh my
this will
God.
be gone. So this was me like using it before it goes, before we post it to some winner somewhere in the world. And this was me kind of having my like sort of like my last, I don't know, my last flaunt with it.
Just like one more time. Just one more time.
Yeah, we won't tell anybody. It's just for me and you. Nobody will see this.
Oh, is that ever hard for you? Like when you give away bases? I mean, dude, you just did that monster giveaway. Is that
the
difficult?
banana base that's killing me.
Yeah. Is it?
It's killing me so much that I've taken measurements of things on the base.
Oh my God.
And written them down because there's so many things on that base where the measurement is perfect.
Yes.
I'm like, I can't imagine not having that in the future. So I'm going to go to, I don't know, like F base or somebody in the future, whatever. I'm going to be like, these are the measurements.
The holy measurements.
But I love this bass, man. I love it. It is super. It's like a piano. There's something about Ken Smith's that just turned me on.
Every note is super clear. Very different than this bass. I've got an old jazz bass with flats. Not every note sounds like that.
Just a different vibe, though, isn't it? And that sounds beautiful. I love that bass. But have you ever brought that to the UK? I don't think you have.
I never have. I would. It's flat wounds, and so I feel like sometimes it's not the right thing for every, like every video that we make. Sort of feel like, it's kind of one trick, but I do love it. And, I use it a lot with effects and with octave pedal stuff.
Yeah.
I feel like.
Maybe you should bring it over. Maybe you should bring it over.
So?
Yeah, I think so, yeah, because you're coming over in a few weeks, aren't you? Anyway, if anybody, hopefully somebody's watching right now, right? For you guys watching, you might not have seen a video like this. And what the whole idea was, obviously, we've got a podcast. Or you might not even know that we've got a podcast if you just watch us on YouTube all the time. You might be like, what podcast? Well, we've got a podcast. Shout out to all you freaking beautiful podcast listeners. We love you. We do. We love you. And Ian and I were talking the other day, and we were just like, can we make the podcast work on the main channel? And this is our first stab at it. So you'll have to let us know, all you podcast listeners who regularly listen to the podcast, you'll have to let us know how we did. Is it a thumbs up? Is it a thumbs down? Give us your feedback. Let us know in the comments. And also, if you are new to the podcast, well, to let you know, hey, we've got a podcast.
Yeah,
we've got a podcast. It's on iTunes. It's on all of the places you'd imagine it to be, Spotify and stuff like that. But ideally, if these tests go down well, we're going to be trying to move this to the main YouTube channel as well. So you can just listen or watch the podcast over there as well. And today, to start us out on a great, we've been super organized. Should we just be transparent? Let's be transparent. Our podcasts are generally like, oh shit, dude, we've got a podcast. We've got a podcast this afternoon. Actually, maybe that's a little bit too much. It's more like this. Shit, dude, we've got a podcast in like quarter of an hour that we need to do. What should we talk about? And then we just slide into the podcast.
Yeah.
You slide into your pants on a morning, right? So we just slide into the podcast. Yeah, exactly. So the vibe is we've actually tried to get our shit together for this, and we've organized somewhat of a discussion that we're going to have today. And we've also got a few segments as well that we're going to run through. First of all, we're going to discuss the talking topic of today is, are effects pedals a bit of a rip-off? Ooh. And right here, we've got, effects pedal. No, well, not. Well, you're a bit of a sort of like you kind of love it all, don't you? I was going to say you love your multi-effects and stuff like that, but you kind of love it all, don't you?
I feel like for me, effects, I'm looking back at my like ridiculous shelf of effects back here, some of which are actually in front of me because we got a really fun test coming up that I'm going to do for you. But I will say, for me, effects pedals, both singles and multis, which we're going to talk about today, are like this window into completely different sounds. Right? They're a thing you plug your instrument into, and suddenly your instrument's making this whole different sound. Some of them are very subtle, of course, and some of them are very extreme. And then there's so many options. Oh my God. Like, how do you even start? Where do you start? And for me, it's not so much about option anxiety because I've been in this game for a very long time, but it's just like kid in a candy store. I want to try every pedal. I get so excited about it. So yeah, I have real, thoughts about single pedals versus multi-effects. And, and you're saying, and you're asking if they're a ripoff. And I know what you mean. Like,
yeah,
well, actually, what do you
my
mean?
point is,
what do you mean?
what do I mean? Like, I think that, like, is it just, there's these pedals out there for like hundreds and hundreds of dollars.
Yes.
And I get it, but I think that there's more than sound driving that price.
Yes, absolutely.
There's more than sound driving the price. There is, like limited numbers. There's limited runs of things. There's
of course
limited editions. Like all of this that really doesn't affect the sound, but drastically affects the unobtainium factor, which the way that you'd call it, right? It's the price.
Yes.
The price gets driven right up, and I think that, like, the question that I'm asking, or among other questions, is should we just be aware that, like, are they worth it? Could we just get that sound through a multi-effects unit? Could we get 80% of the way there through a multi-effects unit? Is there just sort of like a part of our, humans, we're a little crap when it comes to stuff like this. We kind of just want the thing. We want the shiny object.
Right.
Is there a lot of that driving this? Can we, I'm sure that there's people listening to this podcast that have dropped like $2,000, $3,000, $4,000 on pedals.
Easily. Or more.
Okay, exactly, more, right? And could we get 80% there with the multi-effects pedal? You are very, known for your relationship with the HX Stomp, right? That's your sort of like the main body of your sounds comes through the HX Stomp.
Yeah.
If you go to your next session and your next gig, Mr. Allison, and you've only got the HX Stomp, are the artists that you're working with gonna start weeping, panicking, like, or will they just not give freaking two shits?
They
don't
care
even
at all.
know. They don't care.
No. And I think, this is such a personal conversation about like what you need. First of all, do you even need effects for your gig? I mean, if you're playing a blues gig or you're playing an Americana gig or you're playing a jazz gig or a funk gig, you might not need anything, and that's fine. I find myself in situations live and on records where I'm getting called to play sounds. I play sounds a lot with different artists, and so I find that it's a big part of what I do. And Scott mentions the HX Stomp, which is a Line 6 product that, sort of evolved out of the previous iterations, the M series stuff, and before that, the big colored modelers. Scott, do you remember the big green delay that everybody
they
had?
Were legendary. Everybody had that green delay. They're starting to do it again, right? They've done like a V2 of it, yeah? Yeah,
they've rebooted that big green delay, but, they put all those same sounds into the M series stuff that then became the Helix line, and there's this little pedal called the HX Stomp. I will say for me, the multi-effect thing is really useful if you have to organize. So there's a hip hop artist I play with named Dessa, and it's all synth sounds. And so I organize sounds for her. And then there's a soul R&B pop artist I play with named Eric Hutchinson. And that's, a completely different set of sounds. There's tremolo and spring reverb and overdrive and fuzz, and it's not synth sounds. And I organize stuff for him. If I had that all on individual pedals, I'd drive myself crazy.
Would you have like two different boards? Basically, is that
I would have to. And I used to do the thing of like, and I wonder if anybody out there, give us a shout in the comments if this is you. Before every gig, I used to reconfigure my board, and I'd tear stuff apart and put new things on depending on the artist I was working with. And in the beginning, it was fun and I had time. But then, dude, kids,
you got a real life.
that in my 20s, that was amazing. But I had to get really organized and like manage my time. I would find that sometimes I was, doing more Velcroing and, setting up a pedal board than I was actually working on the tunes. And then that felt ridiculous. So for me, having organized set lists in a pedal like a multi-effects is great. Also, I don't know about you, Scott, but if you're throwing and going, you're tossing your stuff on a stage, knobs get bumped. You got that big, beautiful pedal board with all your pedals and sound settings, and now a knob or a slider gets bumped. Oh yeah, the big, beautiful board.
Oh.
You know, and then you kick that pedal on and it's too quiet or it's way too crazy. I mean, oh my God. I'm like a bit of a control freak. And so I want, when I kick that pedal, to be right. And presets in a multi help you do that. But not everybody needs that functionality, right?
And just, can I just, like, I've just got, you know, I can imagine people burning me in the comments, alive at the stake.
Yeah.
But I can, hey, I'm sitting here and we're going to share our pedal boards in a minute. I'm sat here. There's no multi-effects here. It's all pedals.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So I'm not asking this question because I'm like, oh, I think that I'm asking it for people that might be at the point where they're about to start getting pedals, building out a pedal board. They're listening to people like you, Ian, and they're like, oh, this sounds great. I am sure that some of these guys and girls are thinking, well, what do I do? Could I just get a multi-effects, or do I need to have these like unobtainium pedals on my board to be a real bass player?
Ooh, yeah.
To get the real sound.
Ooh,
So with that said, should we just run everybody through our current boards?
Yeah.
How they're looking today?
Yeah, what do you got? What do you got?
I'll go first, right? So what I'll do is I'm going to just show the stuff on the board that's not plugged in right now, but is plugged in on a regular basis. So first of all, I use this a lot, which is the bass rig. It's the black one. So it's the one that replicates like that Fender Bassman sound. I love this. Out of the two, this is the one that I prefer.
Origin Effects, baby.
Origin Effects, which are from the UK, right? Yeah,
Oh,
shout out to the keeping it real.
Yep.
Not to make this an Origin Effects, advert. By the way, we've bought all of these. Everything that you're going to see today has been bought. We're not sort of like, silently sponsored. And then we've got this Cali 76 Origin Effects compressor as well. These are really fantastic. I've got the big version of this as well, but it's just freaking so big.
Yeah, sure. Yep.
And I'm too lazy to carry that stuff around.
But those aren't plugged in for you at the moment.
They're not plugged in, and that's because I've just been doing what you were saying earlier, just sort of like plugging in,
rearranging,
doing that thing.
Sure. Yep.
I've got a loop station, which I regularly use as well. That's fun to use.
Oh, give us a little Boss ASMR, boss. Give us a little Boss ASMR. Come on, like this.
Oh, sexy, isn't it?
Right here we have the sound.
Can you remember like when you were a kid and you saw these pedals for the first time? It was so good,
cool,
wasn't it?
dude.
Oh yeah. And you used to go into the music shops and they'd have that Boss pedal board with all of the Boss pedals, and the Boss bass synth would be on there, that grey silvery one. Oh,
yes.
Good times. Anyway, obviously Boss tune as well.
Get it real close. Get it real close. Give us a little
Dude,
foot switch love.
This one's
real
dead.
Close.
It doesn't even do it anymore.
Still, man. What a great sound that is. What a great sound.
Old, new, old, new. So they're the ones that I use regularly but aren't on the board right now. And then the stuff on the board, first thing is, well, if I've got like a volume pedal here.
Yep. Oh, that's cool, man.
Yeah, like you put a bit of reverb on that. That's pretty nice.
Ooh, baby. Yeah, very cool. When are you using volume pedal swells like that? Are you using that
in
on
my
gigs?
improv gig? Yeah, I do sort of like, gigs where I'm sort of like doing like a trio or something like that. It's generally sort of like there's tunes, but it's like improv, so I can get away with whatever I like, within reason. So that's when I'm using that just to build sort of like and I do a lot of that. So for instance, I've got the freeze pedal as well that I use to really build those textures. I'll take you along. Basically, first one is, you'll already know what this is.
Pog. Yes.
Pog.
Is that the Pog 2?
It's
the old the straight up Pog, the Pog Mini or whatever.
It's just the micro Pog, the little one. There's a bunch of different ways to use this. The settings that I've got this on at the minute is like dry all the way up, and then we've got the sub octave all the way off. It's got a great sub octave, mind you, and then just that high octave just at 12 o'clock. So, and it's when I'm playing. get some cool vibes with it, right? With a bit of reverb.
Cool. Give me the I Wish bass line without the reverb, but with the Pog.
Oh, but do you want it with the...
Oh, dude, with the discombobulator too, filter.
Yeah,
Hey.
Exactly. So I've got the discombobulator from Emma Electronic, and that's second along here. But it sounds great. To your point, right? It sounds great when you've got both on. On its own, it sounds.
You hear it.
Put that
That's
Pog
a
on
cool
though.
filter though, man. It kind of leans in that like Thundercat direction.
Exactly. Yeah.
Right? Yeah.
So like super cool. And then next I've got the Hall of Fame. I use this in a bunch of different ways. One that I really like though is this shimmer sound. So if I do, let me get this shimmy over here.
Yep.
And you can create these really, just sort of like rich backgrounds. And what I really like doing actually, and if you look one along here, is I've got a sidekick by Crazy Tube Circuits. Shout out to Crazy Tube Circuits. They sent me some great pedals too. Actually, these guys did send me some pedals. Hey,
Hey, there we go.
Sent me a pedal. but
Very cool.
Yeah, they're really cool. And this does a bunch of different stuff. I've just been experimenting with it recently. But this one, I'm just using the reverb at the minute, which sounds like...
Sort of a long tail, smooth verb. Yeah, cool.
Yeah, exactly. But if I use the freeze pedal with this, so the freeze pedal does this basically. No hands. So it will just sustain it forever. Right?
Takes a snapshot of the chord or the note or whatever that you're playing and just holds it.
Exactly that, right? So what I like to do is put on the shimmer and build up a... I can hold that with the freeze.
That's cool.
And then put on the reverb. So I'll get that off.
Yeah, so you took off the shimmer, but you leave on the Crazy Tube Circuits reverb, and now you're soloing over it. Yeah.
Exactly. And for me, it's just a great... it's just really nice to practice over because you can build those pads. For instance,
inspiring.
Hey, let's learn our C major Ionian mode, okay?
I've never heard this voice before.
Just for you, baby. All right, we've got the C major Ionian mode, and we can.
Yep.
But is it not nicer to, do this?
Dude, absolutely. That's very cool. And then it makes all the other notes make sense, right? It puts everything in context because you have that chord pad hanging.
Exactly. Right? Exactly that, right? You've got the chord pad, and then you can explore the scale, make melodies, and then it really turns from just sort of like running up and down a basic scale to actually making music. So that's the board that I'm using at the minute, or the effects, I would say, and then I've got the bass rig in there at various points, and also the Origin compressor as well. And obviously a tuner pedal, and that's really it. But I have got a bunch of fuzz pedals that I love. I've got the pork and pickle as well. That's often on there. I really need to your earlier point, I hate like taking the board and then putting it back together. I freaking hate doing that. So there is a part of me that just really, when somebody's like, oh, just get a multi-effects and it's all in one box. That is so attractive to me. I'm just like, give it me in one box. But then, there's obviously arguments on both sides. What about you? What's your current board?
I mean, I have a really expensive pedal board that's got like the Noble DI and a really, unobtainium version of the Cali 76 by Origin. I'll show you that board, and it has, the Doom 2
the big one, the big
box one, and it's sort of a little pedal board, but it has about 5 pedals on it. Maybe I think there's 5 that are really, really nice. And it's sort of, I did this thing of like I'm going to condense everything down, but then even that board was a little tough for me to fly and travel with, and I do a lot of fly dates. So for me, it's so interesting. Like I built this little travel board, and it's just so cool. I'm going to run through some of my sounds, and you guys are going to see how different the applications are for me than for Scott. Like Scott, when I see what you have on your board now, it's such a cool snapshot into what you need. Like you're doing these improv gigs, you did that record where you're using pedals to step out in a solo context. Typically, right?
Like, like reverb. When I say you're like, reverb's me. I'm like, oh, I can't live without reverb.
But I don't bass solo like that, or not in the same way. I'm playing, some kind of like with Eric Hutchinson, I play these sort of like solos that were on the record that may have been a guitar solo or may have been a horn solo, very specific sounds that I'm going for. And I'm never really improvising in that way. So I'm looking at sounds in a very different way. But that's so cool. Like this is not like 2 bass players who do the same things and are buying the same pedals. I don't think I have any of those pedals that you have, other than the Origin stuff. I have that. But it's so cool because there's so many different applications, and I think that's awesome. I have a little board that I'll show you now that just has 3 pedals on it. I plug into this Origin effects.
Jealous immediately.
But it's a stacked compressor by Origin, which is just 2 1176 circuits together. I have that on all the time. I love it. But then I have the HX Stomp, and I've built presets for the HX Stomp. I can run you through some of that, how I use it. And then, so that's the multi-effects. That's providing all the sounds that you really hear. And then I have this Jadfir Capo DI, which is just a really nice, versatile DI. It can get gainy and grindy if you kind of want to emulate a kind of overdriven amp, but it can also be very clean.
But are you using it for that? Like, so for instance, just going back to that, so with any of the amp sim stuff, right? Like you want it to sound like an SVT, or you want to sound it like, are you mainly using the multi-effects for that, and you're using the Jadfir as mainly
pretty much just
DI.
A clean DI, and sometimes the Jadfir is nice because it's a really flexible EQ, so you can, if you're in the studio and you want to boost something or cut something, it's sort of like just a nice flexible studio channel tool. But typically I like a pretty simple DI. Even this has a little too many knobs for me. I'm kind of looking at it before a gig like, God, do I have all the, is the bass knob not turned all the way off? Like starting a gig and you're like, Jesus, what the, But I have all of these sounds on the HX Stomp.
So really, even though you are Mr. Effects, right, and you've got all of the shenanigans going on, and behind you've got sort of like a whole it's like walking into a pedal shop. Even though when it comes down to it, brass tacks is that you've got a compressor, you've got a multi effects, and a DI.
That's it.
3 things.
Pretty much it.
Crazy.
There are a couple of standalone things that I miss. I miss a standalone octave because I think the octave pedal, the 2 octave options inside the HX aren't amazing. And I miss an outboard compressor. I just miss seeing it meter. I miss seeing the gain reduction meters. And I miss the Doom 2 by 3-leaf. That truly for me is my favorite sort of fuzz pedal. It's just incredible. But like, Scott, the closest thing I have to you is I have this thing called Montana, right? Which is spring reverb and tremolo. And I have a thing like your Freeze, which creates like a vibe pad.
Nice.
So it's really nice to practice over.
So that pad underneath what you're playing, is that moving or is that static like the Freeze pedal?
What it does, it's really interesting. It's a patch called Tessellator. What it does is when you input into it, it takes what you do and you can pitch it up. And then what it's doing is it's going back and forth. It's going forward and backward. It's boomeranging. So you kind of hear it. You hear it do that, and then it's up an octave. So if I play this and I grab it, you hear it kind of back and forth shimmer. And I sort of like the glitchiness of this. So that's a patch that I have called Montana.
But if you went into a separate key there, it wouldn't follow you.
No, like the freeze, you would have to re-grab it.
You re-grab it.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, yes. Exactly that. Got it. Yeah.
Yep. It has a bit of drive on this sound too, so I can,
See, I am sold. Every time I listen to you play with these effects, I'm sold. I look at my board, I'm like, well, you've got all of that, and then I've got like 10% or 5% of the effects that you have. And my board has to be so much bigger. Well, it could actually be smaller than this, but you get what I mean, right? That you're getting all of these effects. It comes back to our, a single effect's a little bit of a rip-off, or and I'm saying this from a good place, right?
Right.
But it makes me just want to go and get that. But here's on the flip side of that.
Yes.
Is that I kind of hate digital interfaces and stuff. I just want to. And when I look at the what's it called, the one that you've got, the multi-effects, the HX Stomp. It's got like 2 buttons. And that for me, instantly, I'm like, oh no, I need to be looking at the screen and scrolling through. God. And that is a massive turnoff. So what I would love is the capability and the sounds that you're getting, but in something that I don't have to sort of like scroll through like a freaking 80s Casio watch. I'm not even sure if you had to scroll through an 80s Casio watch, but
I know what you mean, right? Though, dude. Like, I know what you mean.
Yeah.
And I've said it time and time again. If you think about programming and you think about having to hook your machine up to a desktop computer or your laptop, or, editing on a little screen, like you can do both with the HX. But if you think about that and you would rather eat ground glass than single pedals, right?
But it's so expensive.
Well, not necessarily. There's stuff out there.
Is there not a multi-effect that gives you all of the effects that you've got and just is bigger than a SIG packet?
Well, yes. So what the functionality that you're talking about, then if you want functionality where you've got more knobs and you have more sort of tactile and you have more switches, then it's just increases size. And for some people, that's fine. Like on a big pedal board, no problem. But I want, I'm this weird traveler. I want to travel super light. I want to throw my pedal board in a backpack with my clothes and a bass. I want to travel with a backpack and a bass, and that's it. And for me, the thing that can do that is the HX Stomp.
Yeah,
and it can do a lot, right? So synth sounds, right? Kind of like reverse, almost like sidechain with delay and, chorus and, big sort of like 80s pop synth sounds. Right? I love this kind of stuff, right?
Obscene.
And,
Yeah. It's so obscene.
Yeah,
did you see that picture on Instagram of that? I will say this honestly, hand on heart. I ain't got a clue what the heck it was, but it was a HX Stomp sat in like some pink, good-looking plastic.
Well, I sent that to you. I sent that to you.
I saw you lurking around on Instagram like a freaking, like a stalker. Near midnight. What was that?
That's a company called Pedalnetics, and shout out to Pedalnetics. It's a guy I am forgetting his name. I'm going to take a shot. I think it's Jason, but I could be wrong and live to regret that.
We're sorry, Jason.
That risk that I took.
Jason, can you change your name to Jason? From now on, you're called Jason.
This guy, single man operation where he 3D prints plastic enclosures and switches for different effects pedals. HX Stomp's just one of them, but he has made this like all-in-one thing where, you know, the HX Stomp sits on it and there's DIs that come out of it, but it's this tiny, beautiful little, you know, and he has additional switches. And so he makes all this stuff that gives you more switching flexibility for the Stomp, which is cool. I have one of his switches on top of my Stomp at the moment. But the other thing I just wanted to show you too really quick, Scott, is I pulled up Ultimate Amp, which is just like it's an SVT, right? So there's just a little bit of amp character.
Yeah.
And it's so cool. You drive it or you fuzz it or you octave it, and now it's, you know, Wostenholm from Muse. Right? So yes, there's crazy flexibility with this unit and with others. I just know the HX ecosystem really well, but yes, Quad Cortex, yes, Kemper, yes, Fractal, yes. I mean, even Fender just put out one recently that's trying to compete in that zone as well.
What do you think? Do you think they're going to do it?
I wonder. It's a beautiful interface, beautiful hardware. It's big. You might love it. It's touch screen. It's so much more advanced in its user interface than the HX stuff. But I mean, you know, I'm kind of like stuck in this ecosystem. I just think it sounds good. For me, the HX stuff, when I play the sounds, I'm like, yeah, this sounds really good to me. And dude, check this out. So you're like, oh, I just want it all in one. But I will say this, the way you get to fluency with a multi-effects is by going through a period of singles.
Pain.
Yeah. You have to like know what you like about single pedals in order to set up a multi, you know? Or you can buy people's presets, and there are a lot of people that sell them. I'll just say that.
Mr. Allison, let's take down your website. What's your website, Allison?
Yeah, you can go to ianallison.com, or you can stick the Martin in there, whichever you please, ianallison.com or ianmartinallison.com.
You got both.
Oh, damn right I do. Damn right I do.
Sexier than I thought.
Your boys got both. You got both. You know, I did not mean for this to turn out this way, but it is interesting. Whenever I start talking about this and showing some sounds that I use, people are like, what? How do I get that? So anyway, that's how you get it. Go there. I've got the presets for sale. They're in bundles. You can check out what's right for you. There's like a pack that's more utilitarian, DI sounds, that amp sound, right? Then there's synth sounds, and then there's more kind of esoteric reverbs and stuff. I've got Scott, the one I want to show you is like a Blade Runner sound that I think you would like.
Right. It reminds me of like Atticus Ross and Trent Reznor and the stuff that they did. Yeah. You wanted to actually challenge me, didn't you?
I did.
Talking about expensive effects pedals. You were like, oh, I wonder if I get all of these Octave pedals, cheap to extremely expensive, and I'm going to play them in front of you. Will you even be able to tell the difference?
Guys,
take me into it.
I have nine Octave pedals, and I'm going to tell you what they all are, but I'm not going to tell you what order they're playing. I'm going to play the same riff. I'm going to attempt to play the same riff for each one of the Octave pedals, and I'm going to see if Scott can tell if it's an expensive one, if he maybe has guesses on which model it is, and also just which one he likes the best. And I would encourage you guys to, in the comments, let me know, what do you think it is? So we've got a range here. So here are the Octave, here are the pedals that we're going to do. I have a Mutron. I've got all three Boss Octave pedals, the OC2, the OC3, the OC5. I've got the vintage Pearl Octave pedal, which is pretty unobtainium. I have the Behringer Ultra Octaver, which is like $30. I have an MXR vintage Octave. I've got the Octave that lives inside of the HX Stomp, the bass Octaver. And then I have the pinnacle of unobtainium at the moment, which is the 3-leaf Octave pedal. This is the most recent circuit version, and these, I think when Spencer puts out a run of these, they sell out in like 28 seconds. I think he sells them for around $300, maybe $330, $350, and then you see them on Reverb the next day. I've seen them up to $5,000. I don't know
Get
if they've sold for
out
that.
of town.
Yes, but I think some have sold for upwards of $1,000. But will you pick it? Will you think it's the best? There's 9, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 different octave pedals. Here we go. I got to hit a bunch of switches at the same time so that I fool you with what I'm turning on, right? Okay, here is...
I am not that sophisticated, dude. I will not be able to...
Dude, listen, I can hear a Boss switch from a mile away. I can hear an HX Stomp switch from a mile away. I can hear like a true bypass switch. Somebody hits it, I'm like, oh yeah, that one had a... So that's probably... So anyway, here is...
Dude, I have a life.
Well, our viewers may be more like me than you, Divine. I'm just trying to solve.
No, I am only jealous. I am only jealous. Right, give it to me.
Here we go. First octave pedal. You don't know what it is.
Lovely. It's a smooth octave.
It is a smooth octave.
But play one more time. Play one more time.
Yeah.
Oof, I like the bottom end of that actually.
Interesting.
Smooth,
Okay.
but I like the bottom end of it.
Next
Ready.
octave pedal. All right. Are we ready?
Yeah.
Here we go. Next one.
Oh, a little more synthy. Nice bottom end.
Interesting. One more
Yeah.
time. Okay. All right. Hold on. Now I gotta switch some cables.
Are you going to be able to remember which one you did?
I have them. I know, right? Yes, I have them in an order. It's all good. Next octave pedal.
I like that the least out of the 3 so far.
Interesting. Poker face.
Look, I'll tell you what. Like,
Interesting.
everything
So
in
interesting.
me wants that to be either the most expensive one or the cheapest. Like either of them would be fun. But anyway, carry on.
Yeah, I have no idea.
That's my least favorite so far.
Yeah, I have no idea. I mean, I know exactly which one it is. All right. Excellent. Next octave pedal.
Okay. Do one more time. Oh, there's a different element to that. There's a new element to that. That sounds slightly different to the first. I'm discounting the third one. I didn't like the third one.
Interesting.
This one has again a little. Play it one more time. Something quite a little different to that one. That's all I'm saying. It's nice. It's nice.
This is octave number 5. Are you ready? Here we go.
Nice. I like that. It's got like that edge in the lower end again. A bit edge. I like a little edge on it. You know, when it's got a bit of it. It's not. Oh, it's more. It's got an angular edge to the sound.
Interesting. Number 6.
Again, maybe like down there with the third one. I think that I'm not that into that one.
Octave number 7.
Hit me. It's okay.
Interesting. Home stretch. Octave number 8.
I dig that one. Very synthy. Like it. Got it. I like that one. I really want that to be the Behringer. I'm rooting for the Behringer. Give it to me, Behringer.
Last octave pedal. Octave number 9.
That's nice too. I think I like the
Dude, you've
penultimate
heard
one,
9 octave pedals. Which one? Do you remember which one was your favorite?
I think the 8th one, but the 3rd was definitely, it left me a bit like, meh. I was like, meh. Which one was the 3rd?
Are we ready?
Yeah.
to know. Number one was the Octave inside the HX Stomp.
I like that Octave. I liked it.
I do too, actually. It's
Yeah.
based on the EBS Octave pedal. It's smooth. It's not incredibly synthy. You have to kind of synth it up with maybe a bit of chorus, a bit of dirt, but it's super low, fundamental, big, smooth Octave. Octave number 2 was the MXR Vintage Bass Octave right here.
And look how small it is. It gets extra points for that. Extra points for that.
Yes.
Absolutely, yeah. I actually really liked it, especially down the bottom end. It had a really nice bite to it.
It has a mid-range knob too, and it has, Octave 2 like an OC2, but this is a very cool pedal modeled after, I believe, one of Yannick Guizdala's old
way.
OC2s. Yeah. Octave number 3, Scott, are you ready? Now, do you remember what you said about Octave number 3?
I think this is the one that was like a bit meh. Was
Yeah.
Was it
guess.
3 or 4? Was it 3?
It was 3.
Is it the Behringer?
It is not. Oh, dude. Right? Oh, I know.
Holy crapsicles.
Now,
Wow. Wow.
My mind was also sort of blown. I will say that, when I heard it, I wanted to make sure that the Tim switch was in the right place, giving you the most low end. There's a couple of spots where it gets really like synthy and gritty up high, but this was in the spot that gave you the most low end. This you liked the least, or one of the least. Is that correct?
Wow. Yeah. That was maybe my least favorite. That, by the way, if anybody's wondering, that's the most expensive one, right?
Yeah, this is the 3-leaf Octave that people pay a crazy amount of money for.
Wow.
I will say, I love this Octave. Obviously, you didn't hear him in context. It is very synthy. It's very cool, but it doesn't have the same amount of like low end character or like
that is your favorite one.
depth.
So let's give everybody because I don't want to, obviously, Spencer, who makes 3-leaf, very beautiful man,
Yes.
very,
Of course.
and he's known for making these amazing effects and puts his, everything he's got into making them. And this is actually your favorite of the group. Is that
If
correct?
I'm honest, my favorite is the version 2. It's the white one. It has, I think, a bit more bottom. This has a little more grainy, like synth top end, and it just depends on what you want in an Octave pedal. I find the first Octave pedal that I ever owned was at EBS, so my ear kind of keeps getting drawn to Octave pedals that have more bottom content, and then I solve the top content with additional layers. So for all my presets, for instance, use that, bass octaver inside the HX Stomp, then with gain and chorus to kind of simulate something like this, but so interesting, right?
Next up, number 4.
Number 4, Boss OC5. I think a solid Octave. Does it sound just like an OC2? I'm not sure that it does. Actually, Yannick has a very cool video about that as well, comparing the OC5 to the OC2. In the 5 spot was the original OC2. So guys, if you want to check it out back to back, you can hear in the 4 and 5 spot was the OC5 and then the OC2. Do you remember what you said about Octave number 6?
No, 6 and 7 I can't remember either.
Octave number 6 you did not like. And in fact, you said, I hope that's either the cheap one or the expensive one.
Interesting. Which one was it?
I made note of that because it's the cheap one.
Oh!
Yeah. Behringer Ultra Octaver UO 300. Now, there's a few switches on it. High, mid, low. I had it on mid, which I sort of regret. Maybe if I had it on low, it would have been better. But I just stuck it in the middle, turned up the octave and went for it. And it was a pretty kind of uninspiring, thin sound to my ears also.
Yeah. Cool.
Okay. The next one, you said synthy.
7.
You liked it. Did it blow you away? I'm not sure, but it was the Vintage Pearl bass octave.
Vintage Pearl, and they're really tough to get hold of, right?
They're very tough to get a hold of. They have a really cool, like, octave up sound that sounds kind of synthy and fuzzy. This is an awesome pedal. I like this one a lot. Actually, really, I was like, I need to hear more of that as I shouldn't just leave that on the pedal shelf.
Yep.
Octave number 8 you liked a lot. I think this one might have been your favorite. Are you ready to find out what it was?
I sure am.
This was the Boss OC3.
Whoa. Oh, that's interesting. That's interesting.
Take a moment. Because, dude, this octave pedal gets shit on.
No way. And is that the one that you recently said that it was, I guess, undeserved? I'm sure that, have you talked about this recently? Have I read it somewhere? Is it you that said it's undeserved? Yeah.
I feel like I have said that before. There are probably a lot of people that have said that as well. But I remember getting this pedal and thinking it was really cool. It has dirt options. It's sweet. Does it sound exactly like an OC2? No, but it has a huge bottom. It's really awesome. And I still feel like you can get them for like under $100, which is wild. So maybe not after today, though. Maybe not after this pod goes out. So anyway, I love that you love this. It's so dusty. I haven't used it in a while. I should bring it out to you, man.
I love that. I thought it was great.
All right. Last one, number 9. Are you ready?
Number 9 was good. I think number 9 was good.
I was pleasantly surprised by number 9 as well.
Yeah.
Bang, Mutron.
Ooh, the Mutron. That looks sexy, actually. I like the look of that. That's a fine looking. It's a fine looking pedal.
I agree. It's beautiful.
Yeah.
And so, guys, like, what did we learn, Scott? What did we learn from this test?
The sounds and the prices.
Thing I want to tell everybody, if you hear something and you're like, I like that, that is not wrong. In fact, that is the best guide. If you hear a sound and you're like, I like that, that is the best piece of gear that you could possibly buy. Do not read the forums. Don't judge by Instagram. Don't judge by the reverb prices. Please use your ears and trust them. If you say, I like that, that's the test. Ask yourself always, do I like it? If you do, that's the piece of gear for you.
Now, before we get into the new segment, and please, as we go through these different segments as well, let us know in the comments what you think about them, and also whether you've got any ideas for new segments that you'd want to see in one of these videos, right? But before we get to that, I wanted just to say thank you to everybody that left really, really fantastic ideas for the question that we dropped a few weeks back. And if you don't know, we're launching a completely new kind of side to the SBL membership. If you're an SBL member, you'll know what we're all about, right? We've got over 100 amazing courses so you can study with the likes of Mr. Ian Allison here, or John Patitucci, or Gary Willis, or Jonathan Maron, or we've got so many really fantastic tutors in there. But it's something, you're learning on your own ultimately. Like, we have got a community in there, but for the most part, you're learning on your own. And what we wanted to do is create a new interactive element to SBL. So we're launching this new kind of like, it's the closest thing to a real music school that you're going to see for bass players that's ever been created in history.
Yes. 100%.
Yeah, absolutely. And we're going to be doing live streams every single day. So every single day, there's going to be 3 or 4 live classes going on. And these are going to be really like interactive classes where you can, you're on Zoom, you've got your bass plugged in, the teacher is going to be doing their thing, they're going to be showing you, and then everybody's going to be following along and do it. And then you can ask questions in real time. The tutor will be able to ask you and say, hey, what you doing there? Like, it looks like you need to tweak this, tweak that. And again, this is 3 to 4 times a day. And I think that we were going to be aiming to do it 6 days a week. So really like a virtual school for bass players. And we're involving the greatest bass educators on the planet to be involved in this, and really creating this new interactive experience for people that want to learn, like that want to, they don't want to learn on their own anymore. They want to jump in and be part of something that's much more interactive. We're going to have style classes, so gospel and rock and jazz and everything in between. We're also going to have skill classes like walking bass or improvisation or extended bass techniques. All of this stuff is going to be in there. And when we launch it, you're going to be able to see sort of like a timetable and all of that's good stuff. And what we said to the podcast audience, you podcast listeners out there, a few weeks ago, we were telling you about it and we were really excited about it, but we were like, but what do we call it? Okay, so we asked you guys, we were like, hey, what do we call this thing? I've got a list of ideas that you came up with down here. You said SBL Connect, SBL Workshop, SBL Live and Learn, SBLU, which I really like actually, SBL Learning Circle, SBL Classroom, SBL Next Level, SBL Elevate, and SBL Interactive. I think our favorite may be SBL Interactive at the minute. Is that true, Ian?
I do like interactive. I like it a lot, actually.
I think it kind of really, we're trying to, come up with a name that really kind of just grabs people so they can understand exactly what it is when we say, oh, we've got the SBL membership, but we've also got SBL Interactive as well for those members that want to be really part of a more interactive learning experience. Anyhow, just wanted to say thank you to everybody. It looks like we're not going to be launching that until early 2024. So definitely keep a lookout for that. And also make sure that you let us, if this is the first time you've heard about this, let us know in the comments if you have any ideas as well. We're going to go through all of the comments when this is published and make sure that we gain all of your ideas to put into the next shows as well. So make sure that you let us know in the comments. And if you're not an SBL member yet, make sure you check out the membership over at SBL. Again, there are hundreds of courses in there from the greatest educators on the planet. We've also got these beautiful learning pathways that really, the learning pathways really take away all guesswork. It gives you all of these lessons in a very sequential order so you know exactly what's coming next. But they're also song-based as well. So we're not giving you just a bunch of random exercises. We're giving you these exercises, but then you're using those in real songs and real performances. In fact, Mr. Ian Allison here has created this amazing beginner's pathway, which is by far the greatest educational resource online for beginners there is. Hands down, like without a shadow of a doubt. So absolutely check that out. And you can access the membership over at Scott's Bass Lessons completely free for 14 days. You can take it for a test drive.
Yeah.
Okay, take it for a test drive. Go hang out, find out if it's for you, because from the feedback that we've seen from our students, it can really accelerate your learning. Yes, YouTube is awesome, but it's not a learning platform. Let's be honest, okay? Right. There's so many shiny objects that can catch your eye. God damn it, I'm the shiny object man. Trust me, I end up on a cat video every single day. Or, the bass version of it. Bass gear videos for me.
Yes.
So the SBL platform is really for people that want to level up their bass playing and really want access to world-class bass education in a way that it's been designed from the ground up. Okay, so go check it out over at scottsbasslessons.com and you can grab a 14-day free trial over there, again, if you want to grab a test drive. Now, jumping into our first segment of the week. And again, if you've got any of the segment ideas, please let us know down below. But this next segment is called Player of the Week. And I want to shout out Hadrien Feraud. I want to shout him out for two different reasons. Number one is the guy is a freak show in all of the greatest ways. I've got a clip I'm going to share with you guys. But really, I just want to, if you haven't checked out Hadrien, please check him out. He's done a bunch of things for this channel before. He did a great video where he also shared his bass collection. And he did it. Yeah. Oh, it was great. There was a lot of people.
Funny.
But people didn't understand Hadrien's humor.
Right.
He's super funny, but he's like really dry, and some people didn't get it.
Sarcastic. Yeah.
He's really sarcastic. Yeah. So if you go check that out, please understand that Hadrien's being very sarcastic in the video, and that's what But check out the comments; it's hilarious. Some people
were like, "Oh, he's so full of himself." He's like, "No." He's like. He's making fun of being full of himself.
He's making fun of himself, yeah. Anyway, but he's such an incredible player. I can remember watching him on YouTube when he was like 18 or 19. He was living in Paris at the time, and this guy just absolutely blew my mind. But he released a video recently of him playing Jaco Pastorius's Bass of Doom. Bass of Doom that Jaco Pastorius famously played throughout his career, and then it got lost. Then it got found again. It got made sexy again. They kind of redid it and all of that. And
because
now
it was broken. It was in pieces, I believe, right? I think.
Yeah, I don't know the full story. Please, if you know in the comments, please let us know the full story. But I do know that Robert Trujillo was a key part of that whole kind of finding it and kind of recovering it and getting it made great again. So shout out to Robert Trujillo for taking that on. But check this out. I'm going to show this video because it's so incredible and the tone is outrageous.
It's Hadrien playing the bass of doom, right? And Robert Trujillo had that Jocko, helped to make that Jocko documentary as well, right?
He did the
played
Jocko
bass of doom
documentary
in that as well.
Yeah,
That's right.
Listen to the sound of that fretless, dude. It is outrageous. Hadrien said it was outrageous as well. He was like, it's just got so much moi to it. It's like, whoa.
It's killing. Benny? Benny on sax?
Benny on sax. Great band. Great band. Oh, I listen to this. I just want to play fretless all the time.
I know, right.
Yeah.
I love how Hadrien's band leading here too, you know?
Yeah.
Oh, that low note. Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
It's like when you get a great fretless and you play it down low and you've got your right hand or your plucking hand over the fretboard. Just get synthy sound. It's great.
Yes. Come on. Lovely.
Forget that drummer's hat though and push it back a little bit. That's what I'm like, show me your eyes.
Not feeling the bucket hat. I don't know. I think it's pretty hip, man.
It's like Remy out of the Stone Roses. I think that guy's played with Evan Marion a bunch as well. I think. Great player.
Beautiful.
It's killer, right?
Yeah. I gotta say too, I was just stopped in my tracks with Hadrien. It's nice to hear him play so melodically and like thematically.
Yeah, like let me just put it on for all of you sort of like bass solo nerds. Don't you worry, I've got you.
I'm like, it's so nice to hear him play whole notes and play thematically, and Scott's like, yeah, shut up.
Yeah,
let's hear him shred.
He's about to open a can of whoop ass. He's about to give you both barrels.
Articulation. Jeez, dude.
He's a one-off man.
Yeah. Little blown out shot of the Pro Tools screen there. Oh yeah. You live for that, Divine.
Give it to me. Hadrien. Give it to me. Oh, nice.
Yeah.
Anyway, you get the point. He's a beast.
I mean,
he's a
here's
beast.
the thing. Like, I love that. I love that we're so different in what we like about this, because my favorite thing that he played that whole time. I mean, obviously, monster. Hadrien, you're a freaking Hadrien. Hey, Hadrien. Hey, Hadrien. You're a freaking monster. Hey, and you know that. We all know it. But the thing that I love, like when he went down, his articulation and his sense of dynamic, and he played that low. I mean, I don't know what it was. You know, he went down. Like I feel like he either played an F or a G and it went and it had that synthy character. That's the thing that I remember. I guess I remember sounds. And then once it goes into, it could just be because I'm a dummy. Could just be that I'm like a rock and roll dummy.
Dude, I think that it's just that people get turned on by different stuff. That's all it is.
That's true. Yeah.
Some people like tuna. Some people like tuna. They're perverts, but some people like tuna.
You're saying tuna. Do you mean the fish tuna?
Oh, yeah, dude. I would rather eat dirt than tuna.
What?
Oh, yeah. My wife eats it. She eats it and she's like, give me a kiss goodbye. I'm like, I'd rather lick a dog's bottom. Yeah. So, we're turned on by different stuff.
Dude. You must, in your life, you must let me take you out to sushi, and you're going to eat raw tuna, and it's going to change your life. Look at me, Divine. Look at me. Look at me.
Raw tuna.
Raw tuna resembles nothing. It has no resemblance to cooked tuna or canned tuna. It's not even like eating the same food. It's so delicious, and we're doing it. We're doing it. Maybe we're doing it when I come out to see you next time. I'm dragging you there. We'll get you a bowl of noodles or whatever. We'll get you some chunky chips on the side. But dude, we got to do it. We got to do it.
On it. Please, a bit of mustard.
A bit of mustard, mate.
I'm up for it. Anyway, if you've got recommendations, not for tuna, for next time's Player of the Week, and we would love to do. We played around with the idea of doing these weekly. Without going down that rabbit hole, it's because the edit on this is a lot. Obviously, shout out to the production team at SBL. We freaking love you. But we've played around with doing these every single week alongside the other videos that we do. But please, in the comments, let us know if you've got any suggestions for who the next Player of the Week could be. We don't just want to focus on people that are, big names in the space. The reason why I wanted to focus on Hadrien this week is because he sent me that video and just like, check out this bass.
Oh, it's crazy.
And I think it is phenomenal. And there's a great story how, Rob helped get that bass back together and then also created the Jacko documentary. So, but leave us comments underneath. Give us some recommendations for who you think that we should feature as Player of the Week. Now, we're moving on to another segment, Ian. I know that because
let's go.
We did a little bit of work before this one.
I know we are. It's fine. I just want to stay in all the segments. I have a hard time moving on. Last thing before we move on. It's not the bass, it's Hadrien. It's not the bass, it's Hadrien. Yeah, the bass, the bass. But that dude picks up whatever fretless. It sounds great. The mitts on that guy, huh? The mitts on that guy. Jeez Louise.
Yeah, he's got some mitts on him. Anyway,
moving
on. Dude, we've got a question of the week. And this is one that was sent in from somebody to you on Instagram. I'm going to read it, and then we're going to jump into the question. So here's what he says. I was hired. Oh, this is a sticky one, dude.
Yeah, I know.
This is sticky. I was actually about to read it, and I was thinking, I wonder what this is, this question of the week. And then I've just read the first line. I'm like, oh, no. I do remember what it is. Okay.
I know.
And we're not going to share who this is because they want to stay anonymous. And that isn't going to be the way forward for all of these questions of the week. We're going to, if you want to submit a question, and you can stick in the comments, you can leave a question down there and we can pick it up. But for this one, it is going to be anonymous, and you'll know why when we get into it. Okay. So, I was hired and paid for a remote studio track. The record comes out and I'm in a car listening, thinking, is that me? That's what I played, but the tone and the feel just isn't quite like myself. Another sign, I was also not tagged in the release post. Messaged the artist. So he went on to message the artist and I said, hey, is that me? He said they had to recut it because of a feel tempo thing. The bass line was composed by me, but then I lost all credit when they essentially sampled me by re-recording the same line. How should I handle this? I'm out. Over to you, Mr. Allison.
Oh, just
AKA
drop that one on me.
Hot potato.
Hot potato. You go back to school and you get your real estate license. Oh man, it's so tricky, right? First of all, this industry is so hard because it's like your heart and soul and work. And when those things combine, it's really, really difficult, right? Feelings get hurt. Who knows what happened on that original thing, right? The bass player that sent this over is a fantastic, phenomenal bass player.
Yes.
Now that said, even the most fantastic, phenomenal bass players aren't necessarily right for every track, for every genre, for everything. Or it might even not be not even the question of fit. It might be, they changed the tempo. They wanted a different sound. And, they thought the best thing for the track was to move forward with someone else playing the bass. That sucks. In terms of, here's what sucks. That fact that they wanted something different for the project doesn't suck. The fact is that it wasn't communicated. That sucks. The fact is that someone didn't say, hey, here's what we had to do, and we just had to do it for the better, for the health of the project, and how can we make this right? We'll still pay you, what I would want if that happened to me.
And they took his line.
Yes.
They took so he composed the line. They took that line and basically got somebody else to replicate it. Like, that bit sucks as well. By the way, I've got just thinking through it. I think I know exactly what he should do. But anyway, carry on.
Ooh, I can't wait to hear your advice.
I'm wondering if it's going to be the same.
What I would do, well, it should have been communicated. That's what should have happened. It should have been communicated, and you should have been paid. Not sure if you were or not, but the fact that they wanted something different isn't bad. The fact that it was mishandled by not communicated and maybe not paid. I think personally, when I get asked to do a session, I am asked to bring my creative self. So I don't get hung up on writing bass lines. I think maybe I should. We don't have SAG-AFTRA. We don't have, the musicians aren't going to go on strike demanding a better wages. I wish that were the case for us in some ways, but it isn't. So when I get hired on a session, I'm writing bass lines always at some level. And if that stuff gets changed, I don't worry about it, to be honest. I can't worry too much about it. For me, how I would handle that is I would say, that sucks, but I'm going to move on. I'm not going to burn that bridge. I'm going to move on and work with other artists. Yes, it sucks, but I don't feel like just because I wrote a bass line and it moved on with someone else, I'm not going to let that dissuade me. Actually, I'm not going to try to take him to court. I'm not going to leave mean comments. I'm just going to go, and maybe I would try to follow up and say, hey, this doesn't feel right. And maybe what would feel right is compensation. Maybe, I don't know, like if you get paid. But I find that nowadays you're never going into a studio. I'm never at home or in a studio playing a bass line that was written for me. Sometimes, maybe on a scratch, but I'm always asked to bring my creative self, and sometimes that changes, and it is tough noogies, but I'm sorry that happened to you. It sucks. But the communication is the issue for me. How about you?
Yeah. So I think that it's worth noting that this is a weird edge case. I think that somebody creating the part, and then I'd like to think at least this is a weird edge case. Somebody created the part, they actually played it, and then that wasn't used. Somebody else came in and re-recorded that because there was a tempo feel thing, right? So that's what went down. That ideally, I think, should have been communicated to the individual that sent in this question. It should have been communicated ideally, but it wasn't. So it wasn't communicated, and they took that line and they got somebody to re-record it. So ultimately, they dropped a ball. the individual who decided to just take that line and get it re-recorded and not communicate it. They did drop the ball. But to your point, Ian, I think that the upside, I don't think there is any upside of
pursuing it,
of pursuing anything, of even saying out loud to the engineer or whoever made this choice, I'm pissed off about this. I think it would probably burn a bridge that you shouldn't burn in the future. Yeah. So what I would do personally is I'd take it on the chin. It's not the best thing to happen, but I'd be just like, okay, let's move on and look for other opportunities. I wouldn't want to burn that bridge, and I wouldn't want to waste my time thinking about it or making myself feel crap about it.
Same.
And just move on. And it's not perfect. I know that there's another side to it. I know that there might be a lot of people that say, well, that's actually, you're letting yourself be taken advantage of. You're letting yourself to... Blah, 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 blah. There's an argument for all of that. But for me, and it's a personal thing for me, when shit happens, when bad things happen to me, I just think that the quickest way for me to get past is to freaking sidestep it and just keep going. Just sidestep and keep going. The wind always blows, okay? And then sometimes it changes direction. We can try and hold the sail, or we can just move the sail with the wind and carry on going. So I would just like readjust and carry on going, and don't try and take it personally, even though that is hard not to do, not to take it personally.
Right.
I would just try not to take it personally and move on. I've got friends, we've talked about this on the pod before, Ian. We were talking about, hard times when really tough things have happened to us. Yeah. And a great bass player who's hopefully listening right now, who has played with some incredibly big artists in the UK on his first studio gig, right? Out of college. And he's feeling great. He's feeling like, I've made it. I did. I went, hot shit. He was a great player at uni or college, where he went, right? And he's in the studio for the first time, first professional studio. His first day in the studio. Killed it. Turns up for his second day. The engineer's looking like really uncomfortable as he walks into the studio. He looks at my friend. He's like, "Oh, did nobody tell you that we've got somebody else for today?" What? Oh, it just didn't sound right yesterday, so we decided to go with somebody else today. I'm so sorry. I thought somebody was going to reach out and let you know.
Brutal.
So he was, obviously mortified, awful experience, and now has an amazing career. He's on tour right now with some amazingly, incredible artists and stuff like that. So my point is that shit happens. Unfair shit happens. But don't get hung up on it. Readjust the sail. Keep on freaking moving. I know who this message was from, and just a message to you. You are an incredible player. Incredible, like a freak show. Like I watch.
You're talking the poster that sent this question.
Absolutely, yeah. You're incredible. So just keep doing what you're doing, and great things will happen. Don't get hung up on other people's mistakes.
Yes. Believe that it's abundant. Believe that this work is abundant. I think the only other thing that I would say is you might want to say, hey, this happened. It's a bummer how it was communicated, but tell me what went wrong. Is it a technical thing? But will you let me know, like, how could I avoid this for myself in the future? I got fired from a session when I was young. The producer was nice enough to tell me why. It's because I didn't have enough Motown and R&B and soul in my bag. I was too much a rock guy. And he said, go digest the Beatles, go digest Motown, then hit me back. If he wouldn't have done that, I might not have known, So I think it could be, depending on your relationship with this producer, like Scott said, there is zero upside to getting upset. You say, I suppose you could say, This doesn't feel great how it was communicated, but I want to get better. Even the best players in the world should be getting better. You can say, what was it? Was it something specific? Was it the sound? Was it the feel? Was it because you might get a nugget? They might say, everything was a little too backside. Everything was a little too front side. The tone was a little too pokey. They might give you one little nugget that you might think, interesting. I wonder how I could change that moving forward in my session world. And it might, it might change the game for you if you bring that level of humility to it. Still sucks. Not saying that it doesn't.
Does suck. Okay, great. And again, if you guys have got questions that you'd love us to get into on the show, let us know in the comments. We'd love to jump into them. Next segment, dude. Final one, gear of the week. Oh, man, we need to, all of our segments are like so-and-so of the week, so-and-so of the week. So please, again, in the comments, give us some ideas for these segments. You guys might be more creative than we are. So we've got gear of the week. And this one is the Line 6 HX One. And when you told me about, so this is like a HX Stomp in one pedal. And when you told me, I was like, that sucks. That was my instant reaction when you told me. I was like, that's so, because to my earlier point, right, the HX Stomp, something like that, it needs more buttons, not less. Not less. We're going to give you all of these effects in one pedal.
You can tell that Scott's not feeling the gear of the week.
Okay. That's great. Okay, we got like all these effects in one. Maybe I'm missing something. Sell me on it, Allison. Sell me on it.
I'm not going to sell you on anything. I think it's interesting that they did it. I think it's a really interesting choice. It was low-hanging fruit. The HX1 is essentially a scaled-down version, as I understand it. I don't have one yet because they're not, at the time we put this out, they're not out in the world yet, but they just talked about it. They're coming to all the places that you'd buy gear. And it's basically all the sounds from the Helix and HX world in one pedal, and it's smaller than the HX Stomp. But here's the deal: HX1. What does that mean? Well, you can only use one sound at a time.
That's the bit that sucks.
Right. So it's a delay pedal or it's a reverb pedal. Now, it has hundreds of sounds, right? But you only get to use one at a time.
So why not just I don't know.
Well, I think it's interesting. I will say there are sounds in that ecosystem that are worth buying one pedal for that one sound. And let's say you're a person that needs a Swiss Army knife to do occasionally you need a flanger. Occasionally, you really want a spring reverb. Occasionally, and you can switch all of that stuff, and you can save your settings. But you can't put the flanger and the spring reverb together. You can't put the drive and the But I can see it. It's what it is. Scott it's their version of the M5, which was this pedal back in the M series. There was M13, M9, M5. M5 one sound at a time, and I had one of those because occasionally I was like, I want to dial up all that one thing that I don't use very often. But is it a super strong entry into the market, Line 6? It is not.
I don't know, man. I think it's driven by marketing and sales. I think it's driven by user segment we need a product in this price bracket for this user segment. Okay. Interesting. It needs to be $399. What can we make for I would argue it might be that.
It isn't that though. Hold on. Let's just not spread. No. I'm just saying the price isn't that. It's $299. It's $299. It's not $399. $299. But I was actually a little surprised by that. I was like, oh damn, $300. That's kind of a lot. I mean, you get the HX Stomp, I think, for $6 or $7. At this time of, I think it's $699. And the HX Stomp, I think, is incredible. Whatever. Yeah, I don't know, man. I'm waiting for a Stomp, a new version of the Stomp.
Yeah.
Where they take some of these peripherals that people are making, like Pedalnetics, incorporate it into another product design, give you more switching flexibility. They have the HX XL right now, which is sort of big and wide, and it's to me, it's more switches, but it's so big, it's not.
That's my jam, dude.
Is that what you want? Did you get one?
Give me one. Give me more switches.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah. Well, the HX, the XL might be the one for you. Yeah. Hey, gear of the week. I don't know, man. Scott and I could see uses for it. Scott's not feeling it. I'm wondering if it's useful. You guys going to get one out there? And hey, also, please give us feedback. We'd love for you to let us know, is there a piece of gear that we should be reviewing? Obviously, we're going to have hands on this stuff when we talk about it in the future, but is there something that's coming out that you can't wait to hear our take on? We'll talk about it. We'll give you the honest truth as well. None of these companies
review.
Yeah, that's right. And none of these companies are sponsoring the podcast. We're not paired up with affiliate marketing. I mean, who knows what the future will bring? But right now,
we can say whatever we want.
It's the Wild West, dude. The tumbleweeds are cruising by, and we're shooting it straight.
Absolutely.
And we hope to always.
Yeah, I don't know. And just as well, I guess I've got a little change that you guys might see in the podcast over the next few episodes is that we're going to be playing more. We're going to be playing more bass.
Yeah.
And the reason, wow. And the reason is that obviously we're trying to make it more visual and more of a, trying to cover more bases here, to use that term, pun, actually non-intended. And we think that it might be more interesting to watch if we're actually got the basses out, we've got them plugged in, we're making noise, and all of that good stuff.
Yes.
Did we do it, Ian? Is that it? Are we out?
You got anything else on that list?
Nothing.
You guys, thanks so much for watching. This is amazing. It's so fun to get to do this. It's so fun to get to do this with you, Mr. Divine. I don't know, until next week.
Oh, yeah. Is it next week? Maybe. We'll have to wait and see. You guys let us know in the comments. Do you want to do it every week, once a month? We will. I was going to say, we're your bitches. Just tell us what you want.
Editing.
I don't know. Maybe that's too strong. Maybe that's too strong. Anyway, yeah. Let us know all of your thoughts in the comments, and we'll see you next time. Take it easy. See you in a bit. Bye.
Take care, everybody.